Greetings to all the visitors of my channel. स्वागत है आप सभी लोगों का मेरे इस चैनल पर. I'm going to take you on an epic journey of mind-boggling, mysterious, mind-numbing, enlightening, fun and amazing stories just for your entertainment. So buckle up, get ready and let's go wherever this channel takes us. इस चैनल पर आपको सुनने मिलेंगे अनगिनत कथाएं, बच्चों से बुजुर्गों तक सबके लिए, वॉइस ओवर्स, डबिंग, गाने और भी बहुत कुछ. इस चैनल पर आपको हिंदी, अंग्रेजी, मराठी, पंजाबी और उर्दू आदि भाषाओं का प्रयोग सुनने मिलेगा. The first book from which I will be telling you story is the Akbar Birbal stories. That are rib-tickling royal stories coming to us in an undiluted form through the ages. The two historical personalities put together in a series of stories just for you. So enjoy! Emperor Akbar and Raja Birbal. Of the many legends that surround the two famous historical personalities, one the great Mughal Emperor Akbar and the other Raja Birbal, the most wise and witty. The two, as narrated here, are related to the induction of Birbal into the royal court of Emperor Akbar as one of its famous 9 gems. Akbar was the 7th generation of Amir Taimur Lang, the Turk emperor of Central Asia. Akbar was born to Humayun and Hamida Banu, also known as Mariam Makani. Akbar's real date of birth, as commonly accepted by learned historians, has been reckoned as 4 Rajab 949 Hijri or 15th October 1542, the day being Sunday. He was not an ordinary soul, as is evident from the description of the dream which Humayun had on 10th of July 1540, Friday in Lahore. The dream is, by the grace of Allah, he, Humayun, is going to be blessed with a son, the greatness of whom will be strikingly evident from his forehead. To begin with, Emperor Akbar was the real founder of the Mughal Empire in India. He removed all individual distinctions based on religion, caste and creed and ruled the country for 50 years with the willing support of its people. He was the first Muslim ruler who divorced religion for the state politics. His attitude towards Hinduism was conciliatory, as is evident from his general farman in favor of the Hindus. God is great, be it known to the Karoris and Jagirdars of the Parganas of Mathura, Sahare, Mangota and Oudh, that thereafter no peacocks are to be slaughtered and no shikhar of them is to be made in the neighborhood of these Parganas. Also, there should be no obstruction to the grazing of the cattle of the people. He brought political integration to the great part of the country. He was able to judge the Indian situation correctly and wisely. He attempted to win over the leading Rajputs by friendly persuasion wherever possible. He promoted natural outlook both in politics and culture. He was a great statesman and a patron of arts. Apart from all the above virtues, he had a vice, and that was his being very fond of women, and he involved himself in this act, ignoring the primacy of dignity and genuineness. With the result, an attempt was made on his life by Kutluk Fawlad on 12th of January 1564. He was badly injured but survived. However, he had an uncanny ability of collecting able men from different religion and castes. He had 9 gems: Sheikh Mubarak, Sheikh Fazi, Abul Fazl, Mullah Abdul Qadir Badayuni, Raja Birbal, Raja Todarmal, Abdur Rahim Khankhana, Maharaja Man Singh and Tansen in his court, and Birbal was one of those famous 9 gems who is still remembered for his wit and humor. Before concluding the Akbar's portion of the note and starting with Birbal, it will not be out of place to add a few lines to describe the unfortunate death of Akbar. During his last days, Akbar had become too weak and could breathe with difficulty. He could hardly speak. At last, after great suffering, he breathed his last on 15th of October 1605, Thursday, during night hours. It is said that Akbar was poisoned by Salim. Akbar himself had this suspicion, but there is no solid evidence to establish the suspicion. However, he died at the age of 63 and ruled his kingdom for 49 years, 8 months and 3 days. The most unfortunate part of his ill-fated death is that in 1691 AD, when Aurangzeb was busy in war against the Marathas in the south, the Jats rampaged and plundered the Maqbara of Akbar, exhumed his bones and put it on fire. It's an irony that those who go to Sikandara to see his tomb don't even know that the tomb doesn't contain anything of Akbar. Now Birbal, who was more like a friend than a courtier to Akbar, was born in Kalpi, Jalan district in 1528 AD in an educated Brahma Bhatt family. His grandfather's name was Rupdhar, who was an erudite scholar of Sanskrit. Birbal's father's name was Gangadas and mother's name Anubha Devi. Birbal, whose actual name was Mahesh Das, achieved the rank of a full-fledged poet at a precocious age. It is for these virtues that he commanded his presence at the court of Ramchandra Baghel, the king of Bhatha, Rivan. From there he went to Bhagwant Das, the king of Amer, and it is quite likely that he was introduced to Emperor Akbar by Bhagwant Das. However, as it goes down in history on records, Birbal was inducted into the royal service of Emperor Akbar around the year 1562 or a little earlier. Akbar became so happy with Birbal's loyalty, wit, humor and intelligence that he gave him the title of Virvar and the Jagir of Nagarkot in AD 1572. It is from Virvar that his title was transformed into Birbal. A well-known historian has given an explanation that on the basis of the rules of Sanskrit philology, according to which when two R sounds occur in close proximity, the latter is pronounced as L. Birbal worked with Emperor Akbar for 30 years, and in the very beginning, right at the time of his induction into the court, he was given the mansab of 2,000 horses, which is in itself sufficient to prove that his appointment was of a special kind. Abul Fazl, another of the 9 gems of Akbar's court, began with 20 horses only. It was due to his matchless quality of his wit, wisdom, humor and being capable of wielding the sword equally well that Birbal rose to a very high position in the court. Akbar had developed so much faith in Birbal that he, after the battle of Haldi Ghati, sent him to Raja Raval Pratap of Deveri and Raval Askaran of Dungapur as his ambassador to intercede with them for Akbar and become his subsidiary kings, and also break their political relations with Rana Pratap. He successfully managed the job to quite an extent. Since he had become a close associate of Emperor Akbar, he at times used to advise him to bring improvements in administrative matters. In AD 1582, he had advised Emperor Akbar to appoint a capable and impartial officer to look into the matters of the downtrodden and the oppressed. Birbal used to participate in the entertainment programs also with Emperor Akbar along with other Amirs. On 8th October 1583, while playing Chaugan, now known as polo, Birbal suddenly fell down from his horse and became unconscious. Akbar loved him so much that he quickly went to Birbal and personally brought him back to consciousness. Again in 1584 AD, when Birbal was playing Chaugan with Emperor Akbar and the Amirs, suddenly a big and ferocious elephant entered the sports field chasing a passerby. This elephant had already killed so many people in the way. Suddenly its attention was diverted towards Birbal. The elephant was about to catch Birbal with his mighty trunk when Akbar, without losing a single moment, brought his horse between the fierce elephant and Birbal. All the spectators were aghast and a cry went up in the air. All at once, the elephant stood still, overcome by the majestic courage. Akbar's love was such for Birbal that he endangered his own life to save Birbal. Birbal's participation in many important expeditions had proved that he had a rare combination of a man with pen as well as sword rolled into one. And this was the reason why Akbar sent Birbal to suppress the Yusufzais on the northwest frontier, as they had always been a source of great concern to successive governments of India. The Yusufzai and the Mandar Afghan tribes living on the border had constantly led marauding attacks on the surrounding region with their restless ways of life and abhorrence for any authority. Earlier, it was Zain Khan who was sent to tackle the problem, but he couldn't meet with any success. Later, Sheikh Farid, Sheikh Fazi, Sher Khwaja Fataullah were sent one after the other with more reinforcements. But even these reinforcements couldn't do much good. Ultimately, Akbar sent Birbal to help Zain Khan, and Hakim Abul Fazl was with Birbal as chief of the army. Zain Khan, who envied Birbal very much, misled him into entering a narrow pass at night. The Afghans from all the different corners, having climbed to the top of the hills, launched a fierce attack with arrows and stones on them. The soldiers lost their way in the narrow defile in the darkness of the night and were killed in the holes and caverns. Akbar's army had to meet a shameful defeat, and this defeat is also known as the Yusufzai disaster. Birbal too perished with entire army. This fateful event took place on 17th of February 1586. The most unfortunate part of this story is that Birbal's body could not be found from the battlefield and his funeral could not take place according to Hindu rites and customs. Akbar had a profound shock at the news of Birbal's death and refused to touch food or water or even attend the court for 2 days and 2 nights. There was a striking similarity between the deaths of Akbar and Birbal, and this in some way goes to prove the preordained relationship between the two historical figures. The body of Akbar was exhumed by the Jats and his bones burned to ashes by them, leaving no trace of him in the Maqbara, and Birbal's body could not be traced in the battlefield. Birbal had survived with 2 sons, one Lala and the other Haram Rai. Lala resigned from the royal service of Emperor Akbar in AD 1601, went and offered his services to Salim in Allahabad.